Ferrari has just revealed a set of upgrades so aggressive, so integrated, that rival teams reportedly cannot copy them before the lights go out in Australia. We are days away from the first Grand Prix of a brand new era. New engines, new aerodynamics, new energy balance. And Hamilton's SF-26 has already shown over 4,000 kilometers of faultless running, top speeds close to 350 kilometers per hour, and a rear wing concept delivering up to 12 kilometers per hour more on the straight. That is not a small gain. That is a race-defining advantage. But here's the part that should make Red Bull and Mercedes nervous. This is not one clever trick. It is a system. An expanded diffuser increasing airflow efficiency by around 15%. A central pivot rear wing that rivals cannot simply bolt onto their chassis. A power unit leading the field in regeneration efficiency. And a 7-time world champion who is already adapting faster than anyone expected. If this package works in Melbourne, Ferrari does not just fight for pole. They control the narrative of the entire season. And the most insane detail behind these upgrades is something almost nobody has fully understood yet. Stay with me, because what Hamilton's Ferrari just revealed could change the balance of power before the first corner in Australia. Ferrari did not design this package to impress during testing. They designed it to strike in Melbourne. And that changes how we interpret everything we saw in Bahrain. While other teams chased single-lap headlines, Ferrari focused on validation. Over 4,300 kilometers completed in pre-season without a major mechanical failure. That is not luck. That is structural confidence. In the second week alone, the SF-26 logged more than 400 laps. They were not experimenting randomly. They were refining correlation between simulation and track behavior. Because this car is built around efficiency. And efficiency wins long races. Now here is where the data becomes uncomfortable for rivals. Top speeds of 348 km per hour were recorded on the main straight in Bahrain. Top 3 in the entire field. And Ferrari was not even running full attack modes. But straight-line speed alone does not make something impossible to copy. The engine architecture does. The 067/6 power unit uses a smaller Honeywell turbine to reduce turbo lag dramatically. That means sharper throttle response in lower gears. In testing, Ferrari showed around a 2/10 advantage in slow corner traction compared to Mercedes. That is exit performance. That is launch phase acceleration. That is overtaking foundation. And here is the key. You cannot copy that overnight. Because it is integrated with hybrid mapping. With cooling architecture. With exhaust flow direction. Ferrari reportedly leads the field in regeneration efficiency. So while rivals may match peak horsepower, they cannot instantly replicate energy recovery balance. Now let's connect that to the rear of the car. The expanded diffuser increases airflow efficiency by roughly 15% in medium-speed corners. Medium-speed stability defines Sector 2 in Australia. More extraction. More rear load consistency. Earlier throttle application. And this diffuser is not just a bolt-on part. It required structural reinforcement at the rear of the chassis. New load paths. New mounting philosophy. Rivals would have to redesign core architecture to imitate it. Then comes the pivot central rear wing. This is where copying becomes nearly impossible before the season starts. Instead of a conventional edge opening flap, Ferrari's upper element rotates from the center. Different axis. Different structural distribution. Different airflow behavior. In Bahrain, it delivered gains of up to 12 km per hour on the straight. But more importantly, downforce returns progressively when closing. Hamilton was braking meters later into turn 1 during simulations, gaining roughly a tenth in Sector 2. That stability is not easy to replicate. Because it depends on how the wing interacts with diffuser flow and exhaust gases. It is a system, not a trick. And systems take months to understand. Now remember, we are days away from the Australian Grand Prix. Hot conditions expected. Track temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius. Ferrari refined hybrid mapping specifically for these conditions to reduce clipping on long straights. Hamilton reportedly managed long-run energy more efficiently than his teammate during simulations, finishing around half a second quicker purely through deployment control. That tells you something important. He is not adjusting slowly. He is synchronizing immediately. He even described the front end as carrying elements of his driving DNA. When a driver feels that level of alignment this early, performance compounds quickly. But there is still tension. Rear tire degradation showed signs of drop-off after roughly 12 laps in hot conditions. The active aerodynamic platform is sensitive to crosswinds. Melbourne can be unpredictable. So Ferrari's advantage is sharp, precise, demanding. But if it works, if the diffuser feeds the wing as designed, if the power unit maintains thermal stability, if Hamilton executes with his typical discipline, then the Australian Grand Prix will not just be competitive. It will reveal something bigger. Ferrari has not built a car that is simply fast. They have built a concept that rivals cannot immediately decode. And that may be the most dangerous upgrade of all. But now we reach the layer that makes this truly uncomfortable for the rest of the grid. Because what Ferrari has revealed is not just performance. It is timing, structure, and driver alignment all converging at once. And that combination is extremely rare at the start of a regulation cycle. Think about this carefully. Most teams spend the opening races still understanding their own cars, still chasing balance, still solving overheating, still reacting. Ferrari, on the other hand, arrives in Australia with over 4,300 kilometers of structured data, no major failures, and a fully validated aerodynamic correlation model. That means they are not guessing anymore. They are optimizing. And optimization in Race 1 is dangerous. Now let's go deeper into why this package is so difficult to copy. The expanded diffuser is not just about adding volume. It reshapes how hot exhaust gases interact with the rear airflow ramp, increasing extraction efficiency by roughly 15% in medium-speed corners. That changes load distribution across the entire rear axle. You cannot simply replicate that with a surface tweak. You would need to redesign structural reinforcements in the rear chassis, adjust suspension geometry, recalibrate cooling, and retune aerodynamic balance. That is weeks of work, not days. Then comes the pivot central rear wing. This is not just a creative flap mechanism. It changes load paths through the rear structure. When the upper element rotates from the center instead of the edge, stress distribution changes completely. Mounting points change. Flex characteristics change. Airflow interaction with the diffuser changes. In Bahrain, it delivered gains of up to 12 km per hour on the straight. But the real advantage is in braking stability. Downforce returns progressively, allowing Hamilton to brake meters later into turn 1 during simulations. Later braking equals defensive authority. And in Melbourne, position into turn 3 defines the entire first sector sequence. Now connect that to the power unit again. The smaller Honeywell turbine eliminates turbo lag, giving Ferrari superior traction in slow corner exit, roughly 0.2 better than Mercedes in testing. But here is what people underestimate. The engine is reportedly the most efficient in regeneration across the field. That means Hamilton can deploy energy more strategically across a lap. Not just once. Not just on one straight. But repeatedly. And in Australia, where overtaking requires perfectly timed deployment, that is critical. Now factor in heat. Track temperatures are expected to exceed 40 degrees Celsius. Ferrari refined hybrid mapping to reduce clipping on long straights under extreme heat conditions. That is circuit-specific preparation, not general development. And Hamilton has already demonstrated superior energy discipline during long runs, reportedly finishing around half a second quicker than his teammate purely through deployment control. That is adaptation at speed. He is not fighting the system. He is exploiting it. And when he described the front end as feeling aligned with his driving DNA, that signaled something important. Ferrari did not just give him a competitive car. They gave him a compatible one. But let's not ignore the vulnerability. Rear tire degradation showed signs of drop-off after roughly 12 laps in high heat conditions. The active aerodynamic system is sensitive to crosswinds. Albert Park can be gusty. So this car is not forgiving. It is precise. It rewards smooth inputs, controlled aggression, hybrid awareness. And that suits Hamilton perfectly. So as we stand only days away from the first Grand Prix of the season, one conclusion becomes impossible to ignore. Ferrari has not built a single clever upgrade. They have built an ecosystem. Diffuser architecture feeding rear wing efficiency. Rear wing efficiency amplifying power unit deployment. Power unit regeneration supporting long-run stability. Driver adaptation unlocking all of it. And ecosystems are not copied overnight. They are studied, reverse engineered, chased. So if this package delivers immediately in Melbourne, the rest of the grid will not just be chasing Ferrari's lap time. They will be chasing an idea that may already be too deeply integrated to catch quickly. And that is what makes these upgrades truly brutal. And yet, the most dangerous detail of all might not be mechanical. It might be psychological. Because when a team begins a new regulation era already this synchronized, the advantage spreads beyond lap time. It spreads into confidence, into strategy, into risk tolerance. Think about the opening laps in Melbourne. The lights go out. Hamilton launches with that sharper low-gear torque from the smaller turbine. Less lag, cleaner traction. He positions the car early. Now imagine he activates that pivot rear wing on the first major straight. Up to 12 kilometers per hour advantage. He does not need desperation. He controls the approach. Brakes later because downforce returns progressively. Rotates smoothly thanks to diffuser stability, improving airflow efficiency by roughly 15% in medium-speed corners. And then deploys hybrid energy with superior regeneration efficiency. That is not a single moment of advantage. It is a sequence. And Formula One is won in sequences. Now here is the deeper implication. If Ferrari controls the first stint, they dictate strategy windows. If they dictate strategy windows, they control tire management rhythm. And if they control rhythm, they force rivals to react instead of execute. That is how momentum begins. But let's talk about something even more critical. Development trajectory. If this concept works immediately, rival teams will have to choose. Do they double down on their own philosophy? Or do they attempt to redesign core rear architecture to chase Ferrari's diffuser and pivot wing concept? That is not a small decision. Redesigning rear structure means compromising weight distribution, suspension packaging, cooling flow. It can destabilize an entire season's development roadmap. And remember, we are only days away from the first Grand Prix. There is no time for reaction before Australia. Which means Ferrari arrives with something unique. Protected not by secrecy, but by complexity. And here is where Hamilton's adaptation becomes decisive. He reportedly completed a full race simulation with linear degradation, roughly 1800ths per lap, matching the very best in the field. That suggests he understands how to protect the rear tires despite the observed drop-off after around 12 laps in hot conditions. So even Ferrari's main weakness is being managed by driver discipline. That is rare alignment. Car strength amplified by driver instinct. Car vulnerability reduced by driver control. And this is what makes the SF-26 so dangerous. It is not overwhelming in one metric. It is strong in all of them. Reliable, efficient, structurally innovative, thermally optimized, aerodynamically integrated, driver synchronized. And when you put all of that together at the beginning of a regulation era, it creates something that feels bigger than one race. It feels like positioning. So as we stand on the edge of Melbourne, days away from lights out, the question is no longer whether Ferrari has clever upgrades. They clearly do. The real question is whether the rest of the grid can even begin to untangle the ecosystem Ferrari has built before momentum starts building. Because if Hamilton wins in Australia with this package, if the diffuser, the pivot wing, the refined power unit and the thermal mapping all deliver under pressure, then the conversation changes immediately. It will not be about whether Ferrari is competitive. It will be about how long it takes everyone else to catch up. And in a season this tight, time is the one resource no team can afford to lose.